Investigators are looking for answers today after a gunman killed 2 people and injured 9 others in a movie theater in Louisiana last night. He then killed himself before police could reach him.
Well, despite the terrible tragedy, there are also stories of heroism during the attack. Ephraim Graham has that story.
This Lafayette, Louisiana multiplex was packed with families and lots of teenagers Thursday evening when police say 59-year-old John Russell Hauser, a drifter from Alabama, stood up and began shooting inside one of the theaters.
And then we saw a lady with blood all over her leg. I just grabbed my child and we just all ran.
It's just really, really crazy. I mean, like, you kind of see this thing on the news all the time, but you just never expect it to happen in your own hometown, you know?
Police say the incident unfolded 20 minutes after people started watching the comedy film Trainwreck. Officers rushed in only minutes later after reports of shots being fired. The day after, they're still looking for answers. Why did he do it?
That's the big question. That's what everybody is wondering. Why would this guy come here to this theater and just start randomly shooting people?
The gunman killed 2 people and injured another 9 before turning the gun on himself.
Tonight was an awful night for Lafayette, an awful night for Louisiana, an awful night for our entire country. Out of tonight's tragedy, you're beginning to hear stories of heroism and self-sacrifice. A couple of teachers at a movie together. One of the teachers literally jumped on top of the other, may have saved her life.
This shooting in Lafayette happened the same day jurors in Colorado decided they will not rule out the death penalty for James Holmes, the man at the center of a movie theater massacre in Aurora 3 years ago.
The best thing we can do across Lafayette, across Louisiana, across our country is come together in thoughts and love and prayer. We're a resilient community. When one of us suffers, we all suffer, but I think this will pull us together.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Well, our hearts and our prayers go out to the survivors and to the families of those victims, and you shake your head and go, how in the world did this ever happen? And we're all asking why? What was the motivation here? We'll be following this story, and you can find out more on cbnnews.com. Well, in other news, we may be seeing more undercover videos exposing Planned Parenthood. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. There's more to come. That's what one member of Congress had to say about the shocking undercover videos showing Planned Parenthood discussing the sale of aborted unborn baby body parts. Congressman Diane Black tells CBN News she viewed the footage prior to it being made public and, in her own words, still finds herself rattled by what's on the tapes.
I can tell you that it was so emotional for me that I had a hard time not being tearful, seeing the inhumane activity that was occurring at Planned Parenthood in these clinics. And what I saw on the film was just rattling to me. The disrespect for life and the kind of talk about how we can crush this child, and we do this by an ultrasound guided mechanism to be able to preserve this part or that part. The lack of respect for human life was really rattling to me.
The Tennessee Republican and former registered nurse has a bill to defund Planned Parenthood while Congress investigates. So far, more than 120 House lawmakers have signed on as co-sponsors, prompted by 2 undercover videos released by the Center for Medical Progress.
I can tell you that the Center for Medical Progress does have more video footage. I do not know how they plan on rolling that out, but I think you have not seen the end of what they have uncovered is really the heart and soul of what happens there at Planned Parenthood.
Black wants the House to take action before Congress's August recess. Several pro-life lawmakers have offered similar measures in the Senate. Actress Roma Downey, famous for her work on Christian movies and TV, says she had enough of all the negative stories in the news, so she created a positive and inspirational TV show called Answered Prayers. Jennifer Wishon interviewed the actress and brings us the story.
Answered prayers. They're what Christians seek daily, and often God answers just when we think all hope is lost. Tired of the discouraging news on TV, actress and producer Roma Downey decided to look for inspiration.
They are moments of divine intervention.
She went to churches across the country asking for stories of answered prayers. The response was overwhelming. 20 of those modern-day miracles will be relived in her new series, Answered Prayers.
You know, on Touched by an Angel, we used to say that coincidence was God's way of remaining anonymous. And you see in these stories how God shows up again and again.
It's reported that the tornado has touched down.
As Christians, we know that God is constantly answering prayers. He's constantly moving in the world. But for many people watching this, it may be surprising.
It's reminding people that they're not alone, that God is real, and that God hears them when they cry out.
We're living at a time when many Americans fear their religious liberty is under attack. And at the same time, you're putting a show about answered prayers on the air. What do you make of the timing of this launch?
I'm just really encouraged. We're hoping that the show might birth a prayer revival. We know that we need prayer now more than ever. There's a lot of fear in our nation, I think. You know, there's a lot of things going on in our world that are very scary. And I think it's just good to be reminded that our God is an almighty God. And when we reach out to him, he hears us.
Answered Prayers premieres on TLC this Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Even if you don't believe, there will be a moment where you will scratch your head and say, there's no logical explanation for any of the outcomes of these stories. Something supernatural is going on here.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, New York.
Thank you, Jennifer. Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner has signed a new law making his state the first to divest public pension funds from businesses involved in the anti-Israel BDS movement. BDS stands for Boycott, Sanctions, and Divestment, and it aims to increase economic and political pressure on Israel to force it into making concessions to the Palestinians. Rauner said we need to stand up to anti-Semitism whenever and wherever we see it. And he added, I hope other states move quickly to follow our lead. And Gordon, several similar measures have been introduced on Capitol Hill.
And I hope they pass quickly. We need to stand with Israel on this. The Palestinians are being very effective with this boycott, divestment, sanction movement, trying to get people to literally shun Israel, shun doing any business with Israel. And we need to stand up. Israel has a right to exist, and we need to stand with her.